This is All About Home Construction, and here's your hosts, Terry Cannell-Beck and Randy Blake.
That's right. Good morning, Randy.
Morning, Terry.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you and everybody out there. Glad to be back.
Definitely. It's great to get back into the swing of All About Home Construction, a live show. So thank you all again for, last couple of weeks.
Yep. For giving us a break.
I know. It's kind of nice when we have family and kids and stuff. Sometimes it's hard to go out and do stuff on days that are not Saturday mornings. And so we appreciate all of the understanding out there. And all the listeners that reach out and say, is everything okay? Because it happened to be a good thing this time. But yeah. So we appreciate all of our listeners out there. Whether you're listening, of course, right here on WATA or the podcast, we've got quite a few listeners around that are not in the local area. So we appreciate those people as well.
Yes, we do.
So, and don't forget, you can check out that podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also reach out to us at All About Home Construction on the Facebook page. And for what it's worth, we even have an email, allabouthomeconstruction@gmail.com. So feel free to give us anything.
Yeah.
We'll take all feedback.
We'll try to answer anything we can.
That's the way we roll. We're here for you because that's the whole point of the show, is to help out all of our listeners. So,
let me thank everybody for that breakfast.
That's what I was going to ask.
I wasn't here last week.
Yeah.
We had 40 people came out for breakfast, and I really appreciate everybody that came. And, we appreciate everything that everybody does when they come to our meals. Today's fish and chip day.
Nice. Ooh.
That was, out of every meal we've ever done, we've had more people wanting fish and chips.
That's great. Well, it's there's something classic about a good fish and chip. And I'm not a big fish guy, but fish and chips hits the spot sometimes.
Well, I use original Irish recipe.
There you go.
And next month is the big boy dinner.
Oh, that's a big one.
Or big girl dinner.
Yeah, the big steaks.
Yeah. So we're working on tickets on that. We have to buy tickets because, it costs a few dollars to buy a 2-pound ribeye.
Well, that excuse me. That's the thing anymore is the food prices have gone up so much, and you hate to buy stuff that's going to get wasted because you hate to buy more. You can always anticipate someone coming in, but you can't anticipate 30 more people coming in, and so that's the issue. And so why don't you go in with the tickets? So I totally get it, to keep your costs down, and you pass that along to the donators.
Yeah.
But keeping that cost down. Of course, the cool thing about all the meals, whether it's the breakfast or the steak dinners or the fish fry tonight, like what I like about it is you're helping out the local VFW, and you guys do so much. And you have so many outreach things for the community, so every meal goes in to help supporting part of that, and so that's always a good reason to go out.
One thing I didn't do was here a while back we did Elizabeth Dole Wounded Warrior Foundation out at Fire Rock Station, and I have to really give them a big thanks for what they did for us. So check them out too.
That's awesome.
And they're into nonprofits pretty. Helping nonprofits move forward. So,
well, that was really cool, and I know you had a good time at the event itself. So, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's I enjoy helping the vets. I enjoy, my dad was a military man. He was a Korean vet, and it actually helps them out.
Right.
All right, and time's fading for them. My dad's been gone 12 years.
Yeah.
And now the Vietnam boys are fading pretty fast.
Yeah.
And, it's you get to know them, and if they trust you, then they'll tell you what they accomplished.
Yeah. It's really cool. And, being a history fan, to me, it's always interesting to hear those stories, good and bad stories. There's still that interest to me. And so, yeah, it's just fun. I mean, it's one of those things for me to hear those stories. It's almost like an honor, like you said, because it's not something that everyone just opens up and talks about always. So to hear that, it's kind of cool in that aspect too. So.
Yes, it is. And you generally, as a kid, Boy Scouts and stuff, a lot of the parents are World War II vets.
Mm-hmm.
But they only talk about things when they're around vets, because nobody else understands.
Yep. I was actually, speaking of podcasts, I was listening to a podcast over the week, and it was about a Vietnam vet was being interviewed for this podcast. He was talking about going into all the holes and stuff in Vietnam and the tunnels. But it was interesting because he made that same comment. And he was like, his dad was the guy. I can't remember his name now. It was one of those. I was listening to the interview and I completely forgot the guy's name. But his dad was also in the military in World War II, and so that's what he was saying when he came home from Vietnam, is that his dad was the only one that he would talk to about it, because they had that, even though it was different wars, they had that commonality.
Yeah, sure was.
So anyway, I say all that to say it's really cool. So, and we, and as us, on our show here, we like to support things like the VFW, where you go around and you help the community and help not just that particular section of the community, but all the community.
Yes, yes, you do.
Pretty cool stuff. Anyway,
thank y'all.
We do appreciate it for sure. So, well, before we get into our main topic today, I'm trying to think. I think we've answered all the listener questions. I don't know that I have any new questions for you this week. No new projects going on of anyone that's reached out anyway. But if you have one, give us a call, 828-262-1567. We'll get you on the air. And
yes, we will. Try to answer it. If not, we'll do the research to answer it.
There you go. And then for those that are listening, or maybe you don't want to call in on a Saturday morning, if you check in the podcast page, you can All About Home Construction. When you go to our Spotify page, you can actually leave us, like, for lack of a better word, a voicemail, and we can put you on there. So if you've got a question during the week and you can't remember what it was on Saturday morning, but you remember later on, guess what? We still got you.
Yep.
So you can do it that way too. Pretty cool. So, well, should we get into our main topic?
Yes.
Let's see. Our main topic today, I guess we can talk about some residential stuff, because we like to build residential housing, but this is a product that you often don't think of as residential, or at least traditionally don't think about it as residential.
Not in this area, because it's generally used in commercial, but it's coming into residential.
Yeah. So metal siding, though, is our topic for today. Like you said, you think about it mostly for commercial jobs, or for commercial buildings, factories, warehouses, things like that, or barns, right? You see it in the agriculture side of things quite a bit. Especially here in North Carolina, I feel like I can think of several barns that I can drive down the road to and take you to right now in the county and outside the county, that the metal barns. So that seems to be where that niche is for the metal siding, but we're seeing more and more take over the residential side.
Yes, we are. Wayne King was a teacher at the high school, electrician, and he was the first person that I sold siding to, sold roofing to, that he put on his house, because he had a real high section that the way the sun beat on it was taking the paint off of it continuously.
Right.
And unlike some of these pictures, he run it vertical instead of horizontal.
Yeah.
And which that's a good way to do it. And
well, that seems to be, I don't know, that seems to be common. How's that? I wouldn't say more common, but it certainly seems to be common to run it that way. You see, and that's the, again, going back to the agriculture thing, that's the way most of the barns that I've seen anyway are the vertical.
Yeah. Well, you can run it horizontal too. You can run it on a 45-degree angle.
Sure.
And it's just like, you got to make sure your lap is correct. Okay.
Right.
And most people don't, you don't know how many roofs we've gone back and the roofer has lapped the metal wrong. Mm-hmm. And
well, when you're talking about siding, now we'll again, we've got a whole show on this. I don't want to open up too much right now, but in general, is there a difference between siding and roofing?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Matter of fact, the color schemes, you have a lot more color schemes with that you can use on your siding you can actually mix and match. Like you can put part of it horizontal, you can put part of it vertical.
Nice.
You can create different looks with it.
Okay.
And here beside the radio station, we have this big building, this commercial building here, and a lot of the upper is siding that looks like boards, but it's all aluminum siding.
Right.
And but the siding we're looking at is not aluminum siding.
Well,
it's steel siding.
That's okay. So that's one thing too. Like, I mean, you have different sidings. Again, we got aluminum, you got steel, and copper is a little bit different because it's more of a specialty thing. I mean, I know you can get copper stuff, but that's a high end trim type thing. Usually.
It is, but you can get a copper metal.
Oh, right.
MBCI is the company that originally patented the copper penny is what it's called.
Okay.
And it's a really high, durable copper color, but I don't know if I'd want to do the whole house in copper.
Right. Well, I guess those two plus throwing copper in there, 3 metals, those are typically the only choices. I mean, I don't know of any. I mean, tin is not a thing anymore.
No, zinc is another alternative.
Okay.
And now zinc is a gray color.
Okay.
But CSS out of Raleigh or Greensboro, the company doesn't exist now, but they're the company that started the zinc siding.
Okay.
But you could either get it in a diamond pattern or a round scallop pattern and stuff like that,
nice.
And locked together.
Well, I guess where I'm going through is, you think of the again, going back to the agriculture, you think of the old tobacco barn that's got the tin roof on it. There's really tin is not really a product that we use anymore that's actual tin, right?
Correct. Everybody called it tin because that's just how it came out. But actually it was steel. But see, that was a galvanized product. Okay?
Right.
Now, the old barns that had galvanized on it was a real heavy galvanized.
Okay.
And, under the federal standards, G60 is what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Now, if you look at a galvanized roof that's already rusted in 5 years, that's not a G60 roof.
Gotcha.
Okay, and another thing about galvanized is galvanized does not have a warranty.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
No, it doesn't have a warranty until you go to G90. And G90 is for saltwater exposure only.
Okay.
I mean, so if you take a G90 product and bring it here, we got some purlins, 8-inch purlins, that we bought from Whirlwind. That is a G90 that has been up there in our. We used it for rails in our lot for our cattle.
Okay.
And it's been there now going on about 20 years, and there's no rust on it whatsoever.
That's cool.
And but it's a heavier product.
Well, how do they even galvanize something like that?
Well, it goes through a treatment, and it's the amount of milliliters that they put on it.
Okay.
Most people don't realize that your paint on your house from a company that is not a registered company is only 1 mil thick.
Okay.
So your high metal companies is 2 to 3 mil thick paint.
Okay. Tell you what, let's take our first break, and we'll come back. I'm going to ask you about that mill, because that's a term that we get a lot when we talk about metal in general. So we'll be right back right after this. Are you looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment you need to get the job done? Look no further than Blue Ridge Sawmills. We offer the full line of Hudson sawmills and sawmilling equipment, from portable sawmills to skidding winches. At Blue Ridge Sawmills, we understand that every project is different, which is why we offer a wide range of sawmilling services. We can help you from everything from finding the right mill for your farm, hobby, or even your business. We also offer a variety of sawmilling supplies, such as blades and debarkers, so you can get everything you need in one place. If you're looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment and the service you need, then come to Blue Ridge Sawmills. We're here to help you get the job done. Call or visit our Cana, Virginia store at 276-755-3833 or our Asheboro, North Carolina location at 336-964-8304. That's right. All about home construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to all of our listeners out there. Give us a call, 828-262-1567. Talking a little bit about residential metal siding in today's show. So before we went off the air, for the break there, I had a question about mills. So we see that when I go to any store, even a box store, and buy a sheet of metal, it's in so many mil. We see plastic even in 6 mil plastic. What exactly is that?
That is the thickness.
Gotcha.
That is a unit of measurement. And on paint, 1 mil is thousandths of an inch. 0.0254 of a thousandth.
Nice. So the mill itself traditionally is 1/1000th of an inch.
Yep.
And so, so then as you get into paint, but like I said, I mean we measure that. We use that measurement a bunch with plastic and metal itself. So when we're talking about metal, though, since that's what today's show is about, when I buy a piece of metal and it's got the whatever mill rating on it, is that the metal and the paint?
No. See, because your metal's different. Your metal's bought in gauge.
Okay.
See?
And, so that would be the difference. So what exactly? How would you interpret the gauge? The higher the number, the better. The thicker, right?
Well, the federal standard for metal roofing starts at 29 gauge. Okay. Now, to give you an indication about some, companies, they'll sell a 30 gauge material, and time they put the paint on it, it brings it into the 29 gauge.
Okay.
So, see, not all metals are created equal. And, we've talked about in the past about tensile strength of metal.
Right.
I prefer an 80,000-pound tensile strength metal because it's a softer metal. It's a pliable metal. You can dent it, and when the sun comes across it 2 or 3 days in a row, a dent might disappear.
Okay.
Because of expansion contraction.
Right.
The high mill or the high tensile strengths, 110,000, 120,000.
Okay.
It is actually a brittle metal, so a lot of times when it dents, if the dent comes back out, it has a hole in it.
Okay.
And that's the reason I don't like it. To give you an indication.
Right.
We did a roof repair. Or we did a total roof change out, and Greg took a piece of metal and just ripped it like paper. Not lengthwise, but across the 3-foot area.
Oh, so across the ribs and all.
Yeah, and he just
because that's the whole point of the ribs is to be stronger.
Yeah, and he tore it up. But when I first started putting metal on, I didn't really want to saw it. Okay, and so. The higher tensile strength metal, you can actually, after you scribe it 4 or 5 times with a utility knife, you can break it.
Yep.
And
so we talked about mill being thicker, the higher the number, but you mentioned the gauge, and so here we are talking about the different gauges. It's actually the opposite. The lower the number, the thicker it is.
Correct.
When we're talking about metal.
Yeah.
And then it goes for, I wasn't thinking about it, but we see that in wiring even. Like it's the same concept as, in the copper wire that you pull for your electricity. It comes in different gauges.
Yes, like you got guys out here do gutters. How about, let's go to aluminum.
Right.
Because aluminum is, cheap aluminum gutters is 29 gauge.
Okay.
Good aluminum gutters is 32 gauge.
Gotcha.
Copper is 16 ounce. All right, 16 ounce is 1 square foot. They make copper in 22 ounce, 24 ounce, 32 ounce, 48 ounce. So
there's a lot of numbers and a lot of different measurements.
I don't know who invented all this stuff, but it's just
that's kind of hard to kind of wrap your head around. But I guess the short of it is when you're talking about mill, the bigger the number, the better. When you're talking about gauge, the smaller the number, the thicker the gauge, the thicker the metal.
Correct.
Okay, we got that now. So I want to go back. You've talked a little bit about the particular metals, in how pretty much you can get the same metal, you put it on the roof, put it on the side of the house. To me, that's where that industrial and agriculture look comes from, is because you've got that ribbed system, where it's not a flat panel It's not really a decorative panel. It looks like a roof, right? Because that's what we associate it with.
Well, see, now that there's different roof panels, okay? Like our standard agricultural roof panel is designed with an anti-siphon channel on it. And the anti-siphon channels make sure that the water doesn't cross over top of it.
Okay.
Because it's not made to be screwed in the humps, okay? There's not but one metal company that won't guarantee their metal they'll guarantee it if you screw it in the hump, okay? None of your master national chains will guarantee their metal if you screw it in the hump.
See that? Because that's the way anything that I've ever seen put down is put down that way.
It is, but in 1956 when Fab-Rail patented that panel, they patented the panel with exposed fasteners in the flat, not in the hump. And the reason for that is they designed that anti-siphon channel, okay? Now, if you put that screw in the hump and you pierce that side of the anti-siphon channel, all right, and the water level rises up in it, now the water will cross over in the threads of the screw and come down and leak on your plywood.
Okay.
All right, because it will follow that thread down. Huh. And but that panel on a 312 pitch with that anti-siphon is guaranteed not to leak with 3 inches of rain per hour.
Wow.
See, so
it's a lot of water.
Yes, it is, and
that's a bucket of water.
Yeah, and that's a continuous bucket of
that's
water.
What I mean.
But now that's the ag panel going on your roof. All right. Now they do have panels that's called R panels. All right. And you can get an R panel that is a 7/8 of an inch high, but it's flat on top. Okay.
Okay.
Now you do screw that in the flat, but as it laps over, it doesn't have the anti-siphon channel, so you'll have to take butyl tape and put on it.
Okay.
And then you use a specialty screw called a zip screw, and that zip screw will hold those two panels together, and the butyl tape will keep it from leaking.
Okay.
So that's the only time you screw these panels on top. And
I guess that goes back to you got to know which product you're using.
Correct.
And not all metal products are the same, I guess.
And not everybody's going to tell you the facts about them.
Right.
And so here you go. We're here a few minutes ago. I was looking at a company or a home that all the siding was the same. It's an R panel on the outside.
Yep.
Okay, and it's all gray. To me, it looks just like I wouldn't want to live there.
Just dull.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like bland. And
that's exactly what it looked like, was a bland house.
Yeah. Well, as technology is changing and you're constantly, they're trying to constantly come out with new products. We're starting to see more and more, though, that they're making actual siding products that look different as far as cosmetic, looks. Looks like a board and batten house. Some of them, they've got some metals now that, mimic. They look like a wood, some kind of wood siding, like even a hardy board type siding, and with some kind of built-in, for lack of a better word, like a picture of a grain on it.
Yeah. Well, with the modern paints, let's go back to the older paints. Mm-hmm. Let's go to vinyl siding, okay? Vinyl siding, actually, the paint would leach to keep itself clean. But it's still, there's vinyl siding out there 60 years old.
Yeah.
Some of it's older than that. And it's still got its white texture to it. Even though it leaches a small amount.
Right.
Now, the new paints, my roof on my house has an 850 paint. And it's still gray, all right? But it's a 30-year product. But now when we went and added the addition on it, the 850 was phased out, and we went to the 1050 paint because the 1050 was the energy-efficient paint for sun reflection.
Okay.
All right, the 850 wasn't energy rated because it absorbed the heat more than it reflected.
Right.
It still reflected, but not enough because of the top paint. Axel Noble is one of the top companies in the world when it comes to paint on the exterior of any kind of metal building or home.
Okay.
They're out of Sweden, And you can look them up on the internet and go through all their stuff, and they actually have their test beds, not really a test bed, but their test panels is in Florida and been sitting there for years so they can watch the paint fade.
They're watching all that heat and abuse.
The salt water, the UV rays, and everything.
That makes sense.
Matter of fact, I had a whole book on Axel Noble paint on their test and stuff.
That's really cool. That's cool. Well, some of the different ones that we're seeing is we're starting to see a lot more cosmetic, aesthetic, pleasing type of things. It's not just the rib. I guess that's the right word for it, right? Ribs and channels.
Yes.
And but now again, we're starting to see like board and batten type siding, and they're making some. Even in the roofing part, they're making some that looks like metal shakes, like wooden shakes that are made out of metal.
I can't think of the company that started that. Matter of fact, I had an account with them one time, and they were actually, the plant was in Knoxville, and they were close to the Alcoa aluminum plant, and those were all made out of aluminum.
Okay,
and excellent shingle,
right?
They even come with a shingle that was stone coated to look like an asphalt shingle.
Yeah.
But the price of it was pretty high. And there's one I know where there's one of them over in Ashe County that I can actually drive over and see how it holds up and stuff. Because I got a metal roof right above it.
Okay.
Actually, I got 3 right above that same house that I've gone back over the years and looked at
to compare the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, see how they're holding up, but. A lot of those products, shakes and stuff like that, are made out of aluminum.
Okay.
There are some made out of steel. I think Best Metals has one out of steel. And but if you don't, everything gets back to one thing. If you don't install it correctly, it's not worth the darn.
Exactly. Keeping up with the cosmetic side of things for just a moment. Even, the siding, like we talked about siding, but they even have trim pieces. They have soffits, facial boards, and things like that are also steel and or aluminum, so that you can continue to get that same product. So in other words, you can do all your trims and all the cool pieces and stuff in metal as well. It's not just the flat surfaces.
Correct. Matter of fact, my house has steel facial boards on it. Yeah. Because instead of using aluminum, I wrapped mine all in 40-year steel.
That's cool.
And at one time, they had a soffit that was 12 and 16 inches wide. That had the holes in it, and you could get it up to 40 foot long.
That's cool.
And I was actually looking at it because if you think about it, if you're going to use vinyl soffit, why not use a piece of steel soffit that's all in one length? So you just put it up there, and you don't use a J channel, but even if you used aluminum facial board, you would let it lap over and put the J channel against the house, a steel J channel or aluminum J channel to hold it in. And now the soffit's all done in one, so you have the continuous ventilation. That you have more continuous ventilation for your shingles than would be necessary.
Right. Makes sense.
Which would make your shingles last longer. So there's a lot of science to a lot of things.
Sure. Well, all right, so I'm going to ask you this one because while we're again talking about aesthetics, one that you see, especially, we tend to get here in the mountains that more of a rustic look, I guess you'd say, in terms of like styles of housing, right? We don't get as many quote unquote modern houses where it's the square. You see a lot of square type housing and things like that, and that's what you think of when you start to think about residential and metal siding, right? Yeah. It's sort of that modern style architect, or contemporary, I guess is another word for it. But when you start to get in the mountains, we still get that rustic cabiny feel, right? And so one thing that I've seen is this the standing seam metal that has it's basically already rusting as it comes in. So just to give it that that quote unquote old look.
Well, let's talk about that because there's a big conception about it, and there's a company. I had it once. I want to say Core Steel, and they're out of Colorado. And they got a product, because I actually I priced the building out with their stuff, but it's totally different than anybody else out there, okay? And it's a 24 gauge product that actually has one layer of metal with a 40-year primer, it has a primer with a 40-year paint, and they are able to bond another layer of metal on top of that allows it to rust.
So it's like this, for the lack of a better word, like this fake surface that's rusting. So the actual whatever you want to call it, or the actual panel itself that structurally is not rusting through. Because that was my concern, right? When you see that, I mean, I like the look personally. I think it's kind of cool because I like the rustic look, and I think it looks great on the end of put some rock and some wood around it, and it's kind of like a little accent wall.
Correct.
On the outside. But that was my thing too, is metal rust, that means eventually it's going to get a hole through it. And so what you're seeing is it's almost like an outside coat of metal that's rusting. So the actual piece itself is structurally sound.
That's right. Okay, now there are companies out there right now selling 5E metal that has no primer, nothing on it. It's just steel that runs through.
Straight off the machine,
and it's
right.
29 gauge, and it starts rusting the minute you put it on the roof. Now that changes the whole dynamics on how you're going to do the roof. And what I mean by that is because now you got a product that's rusting. 20 years from now, there could be a hole.
Now you got holes in that product.
So instead of using regular synthetic felt, you might end up having to weather shield the whole roof to do the protection.
Makes a lot of sense. We'll take another break. We'll come right back right after this. Are you looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment you need to get the job done? Look no further than Blue Ridge Sawmills. We offer the full line of Hudson sawmills and sawmilling equipment, from portable sawmills to skidding winches. At Blue Ridge Sawmills, we understand that every project is different, which is why we offer a wide range of sawmilling services. We can help you from everything from finding the right mill for your farm, hobby, or even your business. We also offer a variety of sawmilling supplies such as blades and debarkers, so you can get everything you need in one place. If you're looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment and the service you need, then come to Blue Ridge Sawmills. We're here to help you get the job done. Call or visit our Cana, Virginia store at 276-755-3833 or our Asheboro, North Carolina location at 336-964-8304. That's right, all about home construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to all of our listeners out there, talking a little bit about metal roofing today, or metal siding rather today. See, I'm just so caught up because usually it is roofing, but it's siding today.
Well, it is, and that product is called Cora-10.
It comes rusted.
And they've, back when I first talked to the owner of the company, I guess back 2007, 2008. And about it, because we had a client that wanted it, and it's quite expensive. And but it's got the longevity in it because it's made for longevity.
Love it.
Because of that two panel system involved in it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go. We have a caller on the air. Good morning, caller. How are we?
Good morning, guys. Happy sunny Saturday morning.
That's it, man. It's going to be a nice, warm, hot day. And then, of course, we'll get those afternoon showers and thunderstorms popping up because that's the way we do it here in the high country.
Well, we'll take a little bit of sun early and go from there.
Good deal,
That's
good deal.
Good.
Well, how you been, man?
A little bit of a detective question for you.
Bring it on.
I have a 5V roof that I need a repair piece for. Question is, I'm not sure exactly how old it is, and I'm guessing from the way it's acted, it's probably more of the older stuff that Randy was talking about. I just what what do I need to do to make sure that I get something that's going to kind of match up with what's there? The thing is probably, it was a working barn before it was made into a residence, and it was made in a residence in the early 80s. So help me out.
Golly, so many companies now, the companies that originally rolled that have been long gone. And you probably have to take the measurement of the panel. I'd go to Miller's Farm Supply because I guarantee you that metal probably come from FCX.
Yeah.
That long time before Southern States bought it. Or like Vilas Hardware or Mass Store, when they used to sell metal back years ago.
We're getting a little digital delay here.
And but measure the width of your panel, okay? And then go talk to them and find out what the width of their panel is. Because, see, that company we was talking about, had the rusted panel, their 5E wasn't but 21 inches wide.
Oh, good grief.
So, see, it might be hard to find. And is it along the edge, Bill?
It is.
Now, what we've done in the past on fixing something like that is take the nails back out of a couple panels, and then we've slid a piece of flat stock up underneath it, and then refasten it.
Yeah, this one actually is torn. It had a tree fall on it on the eave side, and it ripped it out, but down to the wall, down to the gable.
Yeah. Then that way, even if it's got a rip in it, it's not going to leak. It's going to travel down the flat stock where it leaks and then run on it into the gutter.
So basically you're
that's an idea.
putting a piece underneath.
Yeah, and you can through the roof is a caulking that when you raise the panel.
That's what I was getting ready to ask.
Raise the panel up. If you can find Solar Seal's even better, which you can get it offline. Solar Seal was specifically made for metal and the heat, and so if you'll take the nails out of several panels, because you need to make sure this piece that you slide under is caulked around that thing so the water don't travel, because it will travel. Whichever side of the house is lower, it will go to that side. But you caulk it to a point that you make a dam with the caulking as it glues back together so it runs straight down into your gutter.
Okay. That's a thought. I get back and
because you can go
listen to the podcast, I guess.
There you go.
You can go to Lowe's and buy you a 10-foot roll of 15-inch galvanized and put under it and caulk it, and there you go.
Okay, that's a thought.
Don't use
that's
aluminum.
That's something, trying to find dimension lumber and something that's going to match up and age out sort of the same is going to be an interesting little chore.
Yes, it is, because you're dealing with decades, not years now.
Yeah, yes. All righty, guys. Well, it's getting close to that time. I always end up having the question at the end of the show, but appreciate what you do. And as I said, I guess I can go back and listen to the podcast and make better notes than I did this time.
That's what it's for. No, we appreciate that. Thank you, man.
All right. Y'all take care, and thanks again.
Always. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Yeah, give us a call, 828-262-1567, and we'll get you on the air, too. Okay, so Bill mentioned something there, and you've said this before on the show, too. And so when we're talking about metal, siding, and roofing, the term V comes up and the term standing seam comes up. What's the difference between a standing seam and a whatever V, right? 5V in this case.
A 5V was a panel that was invented, to replace the metal shingles.
Right.
And the history of the 5V's been real interesting too, because I've worked on some roofs that were put on 1910, 14, 17, wow. And the 5V wasn't the same then as I grew up with, okay?
Okay.
Instead of having a peak on it like we're accustomed to, they had a little round, not really a sharp point, but they had a rounded point, then a flat, then a rounded point.
Yes.
And because of working on older homes, I went and worked on a lady's house, and I said, was this house built in the early 1900s? She said, sure was. How'd you know that? I said, because of the metal.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the modern 5V, the points are sharper, okay, and they can be a headache to put together, unlike that medium round, because the medium round was easier to put your nail in.
Right.
Most people out there, as ever put 5V on, at the end of the day, their fingers are sore.
Yeah.
Because you got to hit it, dent it, and put the nail in it, okay?
Okay.
But you got to put it in both humps. I've seen a lot of the old timers. Well, one hump's good enough.
Yeah, it's got to overlap.
Yeah, but you have to put it in the humps on them because that's the way it's designed.
Right.
And it was, and if you don't put it in both humps, then it'll flutter in the wind.
I gotcha.
Either way, and then, like I said, in '56, Fab-Rail come out with the ag panel that we have today.
Gotcha. Well,
and the standing seam is a hidden fastener.
One other thing I thought was interesting is there's no standard width of this stuff. You've got 29 all the way down to 16 inches.
Correct.
And it's like there's no standard width.
Well, there is a standard in the ag panel.
Okay.
And standing seam companies won't match back, but an ag panel, generally you can take another company and mix and match.
Good to know. We'll take another break. We'll be right back right after this. Are you looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment you need to get the job done? Look no further than Blue Ridge Sawmills. We offer the full line of Hudson sawmills and sawmilling equipment, from portable sawmills to skidding winches. At Blue Ridge Sawmills, we understand that every project is different, which is why we offer a wide range of sawmilling services. We can help you from everything from finding the right mill for your farm, hobby, or even your business. We also offer a variety of sawmilling supplies, such as blades and debarkers, so you can get everything you need in one place. If you're looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment and the service you need, then come to Blue Ridge Sawmills. We're here to help you get the job done. Call or visit our Cana, Virginia store at 276-755-3833 or our Asheboro, North Carolina location at 336-964-8304. That's right. All about home construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to all of our listeners out there. Give us a call, 828-262-1567. Send us an email, allabouthomeconstruction@gmail.com, or on the Facebook page, All About Home Construction. Reach out to us wherever you want, please.
Yes.
We appreciate that so much. And again, just talking a little bit about metal siding today, and a little bit of the standing seam and the V5V. We kind of ended up there, but let's talk before we wrap the show up. One of the biggest things when we're considering any kind of siding is whether it's vinyl, wood, hardy board, and now metal. Right, we're throwing that in the mix. One of the biggest concerns is the maintenance. The durability, first of all. How long is it going? But more importantly than that, how much and how often am I going to have to maintain it? What does that look like? I guess metal. That's where metal kind of wins out on this over most of the others, if not all the other siding. Right? Is the ease of maintenance?
Correct. You'll probably go have to pressure wash it from time to time like a vinyl siding, but that'll probably be the longest longevity siding you'll ever have. Mm-hmm. So,
the problem with vinyl siding is the UV rays after several years they start to break it down, and so you've seen these the vinyl siding that's got a hole or a crack in them or something beat up against them. And
the good thing about that metal is when you hit it with a weed eater,
it's not going anywhere. Yeah,
no, it might take the paint off. But it's a hard paint to take off.
Right.
And another thing, if you ever consider putting metal siding on, make sure you buy a panel with a substrate galvalume.
Okay.
Okay. Do not buy it with galvanized, because if your weed eater hits it and it takes the paint and the primer off, then it'll start to rust.
Right.
Okay. And the galvalume has a 25-year warranty underneath the paint.
One of the other things that we think about, and we run into that here in the mountains, but that's just the weather, the extreme weather. And I'm throwing disasters in there too, right? Like fire. It can take the abuse a lot easier and a lot more abuse than some of the other siding products.
Correct. You might save your house in a fire with it. Now let's do a different scenario here. You're building a house and you're going to do foam insulation on the inside, then you will not be required to put soffit vents on it, because a lot of fires come from hot ash going up
in the soffits, and then you start that chimney effect.
So your house might survive the whole thing.
See, that's what I like. And then again, of course, the rain. I mean, the tornadoes, and which we don't really see those, but we get the high winds though, and the driving snow and the trees that fall because of that and stuff like that. So.
Well, it should survive it.
That's what I like about it, for sure. And again, we're talking about a product that doesn't look like a agriculture or commercial job anymore. I mean, you can get those panels for sure, like we just talked about, but if you want to spend some extra money, you get a lot more cosmetic stuff. And
that's right. There's a lot of options out there.
That looks like wood or looks like various things. So it's pretty cool stuff. That was a fast show, Randy. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.
I think it's a good show.
I liked it. It all started because Randy brought me a magazine, and that's what brought the whole thing on. So now I have something.
And the bad thing about the magazine is that's got the ugliest house with the ugliest side note on the front page.
Exactly. There's way better pictures of it. Anyway, thanks again for all of our listeners out there, and all of our callers, and then everyone. Thanks again, and then check out the podcast all about home construction. We'd love to get you there. Randy, fish fry tonight.
4 to 7.
4 to 7.
Fish and chips.
Can't wait. We'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to our podcast all about home construction. Our show airs live on WATA Radio in Boone, North Carolina every Saturday morning. Check out our Facebook page, All About Home Construction. Leave your tips and comments there. Also, subscribe, like, and share this with a friend.